Hi, everyone. This is Jane Celia Hatch. I'm a writer, I'm a shaman, psychic, intuitive, and I'm also a targeted individual, which I don't really get into a lot in these videos. But for anybody who's watching that followed me because I'm targeted, I will be doing videos about it. But right now, I'm really focusing on books and empowerment and exposure of what's going on behind the scenes for a lot of people. So this particular video, shockingly, to me especially, is about the book Spare by Prince Harry. I never thought I would be reading this book for a couple of reasons. One of the primary one was, even though I adored him as a little boy, and I'm old enough to have watched them grow up, to see them with their mother when they were little, to hear about all their adventures and all the things they love to do, or all the things they love to eat, which was mostly chicken nuggets and French fries, I think Diana said, or the butler said in his book Royal Duty. Harry was always kind of a warrior. He loved playing with his little warrior, plastic warrior soldiers, and he was always leading the battalions, whereas his brother, William, the next King of England, was always leading them in every other way, but he was always kind of a warrior. But anyway, I watched him grow up, and I watched him walk behind the casket of his mother, unfortunately, after she was killed in the car accident. He was only 12 years old. And we saw this shell shock in his eyes. We saw the agony, just the utter disbelief across his young face. And that's when a lot of us, it cemented our love for them. So I kind of grew up feeling like a lot of us did, like the aunties to the boys, to Diana's boys, especially after she died. So I felt, that I loved him and I loved his brother, and just a lot because of their mother. She was dynamic and charismatic and really super loving, and so it was the relationship too that we followed. But then a lot happened to him, and it's all in his book. And I will say it's a page turner, so I was very, very excited, because reading is one of my favorite things in the world, and books, real books with paper and covers, and you can go back and you can go forward, and you can, it's tangible, it's touchable, it's there, it's not going to disappear if your Wi-Fi goes down. So I love books, and I was so surprised that this was, first of all, a good read. I didn't put it down. I put it down to go out to lunch with my daughter for Mother's Day. So thank you, Diana, for lunch and the flowers. And my daughter's got me 3 dresses, which I'm really excited about. 3 summer dresses with flowers on them. But anyway, so a lot happened to Harry, and I'll go into it a little bit. But the ultimate outcome was, after he married Meghan Markle and he moved to America. And I understand why he moved to America, and I understand it a lot more after reading this book. Most of the truth was covered up by the British press and the royal family. So, but he became sort of what I would call woke, which to me is kind of a superficial relationship to the world, and you do what you're told, and you're not authentic, and it's not deep, and it's not shamanic. And one of the things that really bothered me was that he got on this vaccine bandwagon. In my era, vaccines were personal, like it was between you and a doctor. So anybody that got on the bandwagon promoting this vaccine was a proponent of big pharma, in my mind, not a proponent of health. And they doubled up the insanity of it by starting this vaccine equality campaign. And there's so much wrong with that two words, the oxymorons, the implications of how controlled you are by propaganda, and on and on and on. And sad, there's sadness in those two words, which trying to get vaccines to the most vulnerable, which would probably in their minds be people in Africa or people in South. All the people didn't want it. You know, they all hated it. They were all too smart. Black people were too smart to take this. Anyway, so I was not feeling fondly towards Harry for quite a while. And then also in his book, he really badmouthed Paul Burrow, who was Princess Diana's butler. And he knew the boys since they were born. Paul's boys, Diana's boys played together. Paul and his wife Maria and their two boys lived in the cottage right next door to first not Sandringham, not Clarence House, the country estate that the family had when they were still intact. And so they were close. They grew up with Paul. Paul, to me, based on all his interviews I've seen in the book, Royal Duty, was extremely devoted to Diana, loved her, never said an unkind word. So I'm not sure why Harry badmouths him so bad. Well, not badmouths him, just reveals his intense anger. So I was like, well, if that's an example of how the book's going to go, I'm not sure I want to read it. But I keep getting the message to read it, read it. So I was like, oh, all right, whatever. Probably coming from Princess Diana, because I am writing a book about her, and most everything I find, I don't think is coincidental. I think I'm guided to a lot of the resources that I've used in addition to my own intuition, in addition to a trip I took to England where I interviewed people all over England about Princess Diana. So one of the things first I want to just show a few pictures. I mean, you're probably familiar with Prince Harry, but I was just going to share a few pictures. So of course, this is his mother, Princess Diana. She was Lady Diana before she married and became Princess of Wales. She was still very much an aristocrat in her own. I mean, more of a royal, I think, an aristocrat than most of the aristocrats. She had a very spiritual and royal demeanor, in my estimation. But this was after her marriage to Prince Charles. And this is her second born, Harry. Here, of course, is Harry and Diana looking stunningly beautiful, but sad, which was increasingly the case as she discovered her husband's infidelity and a host of other problems, including the British press, the royal sycophants, the courtiers, I think they're called. There were, the prince's men and the queen's men that just seemed to want to demolish the princess's reputation. So she was getting more and more sad as the days went on, and she had never ever healed from her childhood and the traumatic loss of her mother when she was 7 years old, the same age I was when I lost my mother in a similar vicious custody battle where we were kind of used as pawns against our mothers. So she's carrying a lot. I'm not sure why I have this. So this is Prince Harry. Okay, I'll get a little bit into what I'm doing this video for, is that Harry has, I learned in the 400 and something, over 400 pages of his book, a very mystical, intense, spiritual connection to the earth and to power animals in their physical form. And I'm going to read a few passages from his book, but this picture was just to show him when he was helping these elephants in Africa that are under constantly in threat because of poachers. But I'll get into it more. But he had not just the typical environmentalist or sustainability, which in the long run can be absolutely nothing, but he has a real connection to the earth and animals. So this is Chelsea, one of his serious girlfriends. And he was very, very close to her, but it didn't work out, I think, in part because he was very dedicated to the military. He was an Apache helicopter trainer. Flyer, which is a highly skilled job and I only know this from his book. I'm not a big, researcher on war and machines, but I learned from his book, the training, the intense training he had to go through. And in an Apache helicopter, you have to be flying without falling, which I guess is a lot harder to do than from a plane. You have to be taking all your incoming orders from the higher ups. You have to be targeting people below or buildings below that you may or may not be able to see. You have to be, it's like a massive amount of dials. And so you're flying the machine, keeping it in the air. You're training, you're using a gun, you're taking all kinds of incoming orders, you're giving outgoing orders, and you can't do anything at all until your commander tells you. So you're just sort of always in waiting move, go, wait, go, wait, go, wait, can I, so he was highly trained, and he actually was a really brave fighter in the Afghanistan war. And he was constantly in danger because the Taliban wanted to capture Prince Harry. I mean, what a prize for them, what they would have gotten in return, as far as monetary and prestige. And so even though there was always threats of kidnapping, in addition to being a regular soldier and constantly under fire, they were always trying to find him. But he was very brave and skilled, as far as I can figure out. It says Prince Harry left his job as an Apache helicopter pilot to take a job helping as well as spin. Okay. He was forced out of the military because it was the death threats on him and the kidnapping threats were endangering the other soldiers. That was the biggest part of it, is that he was trained. I mean, people that are trained for war, they want to go in and they feel like it's their responsibility to take care of their comrades. And if they can't go in, there's an enormous amount of guilt. So it wasn't that he did not want to take a desk job, according to his book. He did want to spend more time. He calls her Cress. Her name is Cressida. And she's a dancer. But no, he didn't want to take a desk job. He's a warrior, and he did not want to take it. I mean, once you read his book, I mean, not that I didn't already know that everything on the media is basically a lie, you're going to learn it on a whole new level. And I mean, it doesn't seem to matter if you're on the left or the right, each side, even if it's the alternative to the alternative to the alternative, they're all trying to get clicks, and they're all lying to a certain degree to get followings, to get more subscribers. So I think the best thing any of us can do is shut off the media. And of course, this is his very controversial marriage to Meghan Markle. She was from Los Angeles, daughter of hope she's not a man, but you never know. I'm sorry. She's a female, as far as I know. It's hard to know these days. And she was the daughter of a sort of a cinematographer. I think he was a lighting expert. They were pretty wealthy. She went to private schools, did very well, then became a star in Suits. And they met through mutual friends in California, fell in love, and there they are. Again, this isn't going to be about Meghan Markle. It's about Harry. And I thought this was a beautiful picture. She looks very feminine there. So, I don't see an Adam's apple. So that's a picture of Meghan and Harry, who have basically been run out of, I guess, you never know what to believe, out of England. They left on their own accord, but the media just cannot let go of these two. I mean, whatever Meghan is that they say that's so awful, they've become 10 times worse, is all I can say. If they think she's so horrible, I don't really know anymore. I definitely don't like her position on the vaccine. I don't like her woke ideology, but she seems a sincere person before all of that. And who knows, they might be getting kickbacks from Big Pharma. I'd hate to think that, but I don't know. But anyway, I think they're really in love. So I have a few more pictures, but I wanted to wait. I just sort of showed his early life. So to the point, I read the book. I learned a lot more than I knew, and I know a lot because I've been researching this for over 5 years, Diana's life, for a book, which I'm just about done with. But I learned even more. I learned more about Harry. I learned about his relationship to the royal family, his father, his brother, his sister-in-law, Kate. And the British press is, of course, his relationship to his mother, which continues in spirit. She was definitely with her boys in spirit, and they know it and they feel it. And they think that she has been responsible when the good things have happened to them. They say, thank you, mommy. And so I learned a lot. But one thing I did not expect was to find out that Harry has a strong inclination towards shamanism, and not just shamanism, but Celtic shamanism, the ancient tradition of the Europeans, basically Wales, Ireland, Scotland, a lot of those surrounding countries, is the ancient Celts. And he may not even know what it is he's going through, but I can tell you with a surety that his experiences that he had with fox, elephant, lion, seals, and fox were very spiritual, and they were very shamanic. And I found that very exciting. So I'm going to read 3 or 4 passages which relate to those experiences he had. He also talks about the earth, especially Africa and Australia, the outback, and the North and the South Pole, in very mystical terms, like a shaman would talk about the earth. And but I'm going to just stick to the relationship he had with some animals, and fox and seal. And I have one of my favorite pictures of fox right there. Fox has on and off been my power animal. They signify the between times. Hair is really important. They can help you camouflage. They're a balance of female and male, feline. They're also a mixture of feline and canine. And so they're all about the between worlds, the bridges and crossroads and twilight. And they're very, very mystical even in their power. So I believe Harry is at Eton, and he's just I think he's been hanging out with his friends. They're going a little wild, and he leaves and he goes into the bathroom and he looks out. This is after his mother died. He looks out the window. One night, I took straddling the loo, I took a big hit and gazed out at the moon, smoking pot. But nonetheless, this is a very unusual and shamanic response. Then down at the school grounds, I watched several Thames Valley police officers marching back and forth. They were stationed out there because of me, but that didn't make me feel safe. They made me feel caged. Beyond them, however, there was where safety lay. All was peaceful and still out there. I thought, how beautiful. So much peace in the wider world for some, for those free to search for it. Just then I saw something dart across the quad. It froze under one of the orange streetlights. I froze too and leaned out the window, a fox staring straight at me. Look, what, mate? Nothing. I whispered to the fox, hello, mate, how's it going? What are you on about? Nothing, nothing. Maybe it was the weed. Undoubtedly, it was the weed. And I kind of think he put that in there to make it more acceptable to people that, oh yeah, he was just, but when you learn more about him and these experiences continue to happen and he's not smoking pot or anything else, you realize I think it's his bloodline. I think he's a Celtic shaman from his mother and maybe even his grandmother. But I felt a piercing and powerful kinship with that fox. I felt more connected to that fox than I did to the boys in the bathroom, the other boys at Eton, even the Windsors in the distant castle. And that's what really got to me, because that's what it feels like when you're a shaman, when you have a connection to your ally. It is so joyful and mystical and powerful and uplifting. Nothing else feels like it. In fact, this little fox, like the leopard in Botswana, seemed like a messenger sent to me from some other realm, or perhaps from the future, if I only knew who sent it and what the message was. So that was one. And then, well, that's the tunnel, which, so there was a lot, he was in Africa. He was still pretty young. I think it was Botswana. And he was, I guess, walking around. No, this is different. This is different. They were with a doctor trying to save some of the lions, and this doctor had medicated a lion. And Harry was really moving on this female, like, feeling that connection. He said, I knelt beside the female, touched her skin, looked at her half-closed amber eyes. I can't explain it and I can't defend it, but I felt that I knew her. And everyone else was afraid when she woke up. And Harry said, no, this lioness isn't going to hurt anybody. In fact, she's probably watching over us. So that was another one in Africa. He had two experiences with the lion. I'm not sure where that other, it was like a leopard. Oh, this one he felt was sent by his mother. And this was also in Africa. He had been sent to Africa by his father during a school break. And I guess he was walking around and he was about to go back to his tent. And somebody cried out, whoa. Somebody else cried, what the? In unison, we all turned. Just outside the open tent was a tawny tail swishing through the air, leopard. Everyone froze except me. I took a step towards it. Mark gripped my shoulder. The leopard walked away like a prima ballerina across the footpath. I turned back in time to see the adults all look at another one. Mouths open. Holy fuck. Then their eyes turned towards me. Holy fuck. They were all thinking the same thing, picturing the same banner headline. Prince Harry mauled by leopard. the world would reel, heads would fall. I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was thinking about Mummy. That leopard was clearly a sign from her, a messenger she'd sent to say, all is well and all will be well. So he's really getting the messages spiritually from these power animals. And the one way you can indicate it's a power animal or an ally is you always feel love and joy and excitement and upliftment. If it's a negative energy feeling you feel fear, you can feel cold, you can feel suddenly down, but he always felt safety and protection and love. So the last one I'm going to read is and I'll share my screen one more time. Is seal. Seal, spirit, animal, symbolism, and meaning. The seal appears as your spirit animal. It's usually a symbol of imagination and creativity that may be hidden inside of you. You should pay more attention to your talents and allow them to lead you. Also, the seal appears in your life may be a symbol of trust and integrity. Sometimes it may also symbolize your high expectations. The seal will teach you not to lower your expectations, but to work hard to reach your goals. So he was in a castle in Scotland with his father and Meg, the castle of May. And it was August 4th. And Prince Charles, now King Charles, for better or for worse, told him a story about Scottish mermaids. He said they took the form of seals and cruised along the shoreline outside that castle, within a stone's throw of where we are sitting. So when you see a seal, he advised, you can never tell, sing to it. They often may sing back. And supposedly Harry said, oh, come on, you're telling fairy tales, Pa. No, it's true. Did Pa promise that Selkies might also grant a wish? And Selkies were the Scottish mermaids who were said to be seals. We talked a bit during that dinner about the stress we've been under, if we could just convince the papers to back off. Pa nodded, but it felt very important to remind us, yes, Pa, we know, don't read it. Meg and I went down to the beach in front of the castle. Chilly day, but the sun was bright. We stood on the rocks looking out to the sea. Amid all the silky islands of seaweed, we saw something. A head, a pair of soulful eyes. Look, seal. The head bobbed up and down. The eyes very clearly watched us. Look, just as Pa instructed, I ran to the water's edge and sang to them, serenaded them. Aroo! No answer. Meg joined me and sang to them. And now, of course, they sang back. She really is magic, I thought. Even the seals know it. Suddenly, all over the water, heads were bobbing up, singing to her, Aroo, a seal opera, silly superstition, but I didn't care. I counted it a good omen. He can feel their love for him. I took off my clothes and jumped into the water and swam to them. And then he talks about how one of his father's, the chef for his father was horrified. He says, you should never do that, and on and on. But anyway, I think they had wished for a pregnancy, from the seals. And then I guess suddenly Meg was late for her period and they took the test and it came out bright blue. It meant she was pregnant. They hugged, they kissed. He said, I put the wand back on the nightstand. I thought, thank you, Selkies, and thank you, Mummy. So he may be a young shaman, but he's natural. He's naturally getting what is going on. And here's an image of a Celtic warrior in that case. They seem to go hand in hand sometimes, the Celtic warriors and Celtic shamans, which is another reason he probably naturally comes by being a warrior. And they're often portrayed with red hair. So this is a Celtic shamanism website. And here's the fox. And I know I wrote a master's thesis on shamanism, and one of the only shaman skeletal remains they found was a 60,000-year-old Celtic shaman who had been buried with the bones of a fox, and which is why the archaeologists determined she was Celtic, because the fox is really indicative of a Celtic shaman. And so your power animals can know your soul better than you do in your past lifetimes. Celtic shamanism based in tradition from Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, and France. I showed that. There's another Celtic shaman website. And then there's mine. I have and that's my book, which I'm going to put on sale for 1 week only at 40% off. And I'll put all the instructions underneath. It's getting rave reviews on Amazon. It's doing pretty well, but I'm going to do a special sale for people that follow me. I'm going to do 40% off. And if you tell me who you'd like it addressed to, I'll also sign it. I'll give all the instructions underneath this video. But I have a strong connection to lions as well. And this is my website. So that's it. I was just very happy and excited about the book for many reasons. It's a good read. I found a free audio version of it on YouTube, and I'll put that link below too. You could just listen to it for free. I prefer to get the book if I can. And this is my book. It's doing very well. It's about power animals and shamanism and a lot more. I feel like I was targeted since I was very young for my psychic abilities, and I was put under MK Ultra, and how my daughters and I survived, and in fact are thriving. My oldest is getting her PhD in philosophy. She just was awarded. And the other girls are doing, I mean, it's a miracle. A lot of people don't survive what we lived through. So Harry, it's not that I've abandoned everything I knew about Harry. I've added more information. This is an interesting person. And most everything the media has told us about him is pretty much a lie. They take the weirdest things, and I've seen them, like during the coronation, he'd just look at somebody and go, oh my God, Harry's paranoid, or he'd just look bored. Harry disrespects you. Just like, these people aren't, whatever, like I said, whatever they're saying about Harry and Meghan that they have determined is bad or evil, they're now 10 times worse. But I find it very interesting that Harry is so connected to power animals and the earth, and he probably doesn't even know it, but I'm pretty sure he's a Celtic shaman. And so that opens up a whole bunch of possibilities to his mother and his grandmother and his whole bloodline. How far back does it go? So happy Mother's Day for everyone. And I'm probably going to do another one in less than a week, because there's things I need to say about the Danny Masterson trial, which is wrapping up, I believe, today. And it's been going, this is the retrial. And I have followed it for some reason. I don't know why. I think because when I watched the 70s show, whenever, they were always smoking weed and they go around in a circle with the kids in the basement. Whenever it came to him, I got this very bad feeling in my stomach. And I was like, oh, why are you, doing it? And so it's like, now I know why. Yeah. So I have a couple things to say about that. So happy summer. I will put the link to the audiobook and to my book and whatever else I can think of that I didn't say. I think that's it. Happy summer.